Okay, Saxon 4 math class, we are ready for lesson 88, remainders and word problems about equal groups. So let's start off with some examples. Lily needs to place 100 bottles into boxes that hold 6 bottles each. Part A, how many boxes can be filled? So let's take that 100 bottles and let's divide it up into groups of 6. Okay, 100 divided by 6. Okay, we're going to go a step at a time. I like to just cover it up and uncover it as we go. How many groups of 6 can we get out of 1? Well, we can't, can we? And if it helps, you can put a 0 as that placeholder. Now we are looking at the 10, okay? How many groups of 6 could we get out of 10? One group, couldn't we? Because 1 times 6 is 6, and we subtract 10 minus 6 is 4. The next step is to bring down. So I bring down that 0. Now I'm looking at 40. How many groups of 6 could I get out of 40 without going over? I could get 6, couldn't I? Because 6 times 6 is 36. And when I subtract, I get 4 again. And this would repeat over and over and over, wouldn't it? So you can see for part A, how many boxes would be filled up? 16 boxes. So A, 16 boxes. Now let's look at what B asks. How many bottles will be left over? That's this amount right down at the bottom. So the true answer is 16, remainder of 4. That means 4 bottles will still be remaining. How many boxes are needed to hold all the bottles? You see, if we only got 16 boxes, then we would have 4 bottles and nowhere to put them. So actually, if we're going to finish this job, we need 17 boxes, don't we? And one of those boxes, instead of having 6 bottles in it, will just have 4 bottles. Okay, let's keep going. Now let's look at lesson practice. We have to use the statement that's in italics to answer A and B here. Tomorrow, 32 students are attending an awards ceremony. Each table will seat 5 students. Now it says A, how many tables can be filled? That means filled up with 5 students, okay? So if I take my 32 and divide it into groups of 5, that's what we need to do. How many groups of 5 could I get out of 3? I can't. And if you have to, put your 0 as your placeholder to keep yourself straight, okay? Now you're looking at both of these digits. You're looking at 32. How many groups of 5 can we get out of 32? 6, because 6 times 5 is 30. And when we subtract, we get 2. There's nothing left to bring down. That's how I know I'm finished, so I have a remainder of 2. It's actually 6 remainder of 2. So how many tables can be totally filled up? For A, 6 tables will be full, okay? And B, how many tables will be needed though? If we only got 6 tables, we would have 2 students with nowhere to sit. So actually, we need 7 tables. On the last table, we'll have just 2 students seated at it. Okay, let's use the following italic statement for C through E. Tunde found 31 quarters in his bank. He made stacks of 4 quarters each. So let's go ahead and take that 31. This time we're putting them into groups of 4. So 31 into stacks of 4. How many groups of 4 can I get out of 3? I can't, can I? But I'm going to mentally keep that placeholder in mind. Now I'm looking at 31. How many groups of 4 could I get out of 31 without going over? It'd be 7. You know, I did think of 8, but that's 32 and that's too high, so I have to go back down to my 7 because 7 times 4 is 28. And when we subtract, we get 3. There's nothing left to bring down, so the actual answer is 7 with a remainder of 3. Let's see what the questions are. How many stacks of 4 quarters did he make? So, let me think. This was C. Okay. He made 7 stacks that had 4 quarters. Let's look at question D. How many extra quarters did he have? And the answer is 3 extra quarters, because that was the remainder. That's what was remaining. And E, if Tunde made a short stack with the extra quarters, how many stacks would he have in all? He wouldn't have 8 stacks anymore. He would, 7 stacks. Let it slip, didn't I? With full stacks and 3 left over, if he stacked those 3 into a short stack, then he would have 8 stacks, 7 full size and 1 short stack. Okay, now I know you need to go back and check 87 practice, so hit pause as you check 1 through 7, and don't forget to turn your work in, okay? Hit pause as you check 8 through 25. And hit pause as you check 26 through 30 and the early finisher if you did that. Now let's go ahead on to the mental math, okay? And we're going to try to make this a little bit easier by bumping this 38 up 2 to 40. So if I bump this one up 2, I also have to bump 85 up 2, which would be 87. But I'm looking at 87 minus 40, and that's a little bit easier problem to do. The answer is 47. Okay, let's look at the digits that are not 0. Let's look at 4 times 2, that'd be 8, and 8 times 1 is 8. And how many zeros should we tack on to the end? 2, right? So 800. 10% of $20. Okay, 10% is a tenth of 100, so we need to divide 20 by 10. So 20 divided by 10 is $2, and that would give us 10% of $20. How many pints is a gallon? Remember our gallon house, and it has 4 windows, and those are quarts. And remember how many people are looking out each window? There are 2, right? So if there are 2 people looking out 4 windows, that's 8 pints. Okay? Remember, 9 squared really means 9 times 9, so that's 81. Take away the square root of 9. So if you have a square that has 9 blocks, what is the measure of one of those sides? That's the root, okay? That'd be 3, right? So 81 minus 3, 78. Cool, look at this. Which day of the week is 699 days after Monday? If this were 700, hey, that's divisible by 7. That's 100 weeks, right? And at 700, we would be back to Monday. But this is 699. That's 1 day before, so it would be Sunday. Estimate what percent of the circle is shaded. Okay, if I make slices that are about this size for the rest of this, how many do you think I could fit in? Here's one, I think. 2, 3, 4, maybe a fifth. This is like a fifth, and this is 4 of them, and 4/5. That would be a fifth is 20, right? So if we have 4 of those left, 4 times 20, let's see if that's a good guess. About 80%. All right. Calculation, the square root of 81. It means if you make a square out of a big square made out of tiny squares, and it has 81 little ones, what would the base be? The root of that square. What would the measure be? It'd be 9 across, wouldn't it? Because 9 times 9 is 81. So the square root of 81 is 9. Divided by 3 is 3. Times 25 is 75. Plus 75 is, think in terms of quarters, Be 3/4 plus 3/4, that's 6/4, which is 150 times 2, which is 300. Now let's look at problem solving. Tandy wants to know the circumference, that's all the way around a circle, okay, of the distance around her bicycle tire. She has some string and a meter stick. How can Tandy measure the circumference of the tire in centimeters? It's really hard to measure circumference with a meter stick or a ruler or anything that's straight. It's easier with a tape measure. She doesn't have a tape measure though, but she does have some string. So what should she do? Measure the distance around her bicycle with her string first, right? And then use the meter stick to measure the string. And that's what it says for you to do. So keep that in mind. You might need that sometime. And I think we're finished.